My fiancé live streamed her bachelorette party. He's pathetic in bed. Should I even marry him? She sneered as her friends laughed. Don't bother, I commented. Then I sent the video to her dad and canceled the wedding. Seconds later, her maid of honor was calling me in panic. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey, Reddit. My fiancée went live on Instagram during her bachelorette party. She started mocking me and asking if she should even marry me while hundreds of people watched and laughed. Also bragged about hooking up with her coworker. I screen recorded everything and canceled our wedding. Strap in because what followed was complete chaos. So, this happened about 4 months ago, and I'm finally ready to share this absolute train wreck with you guys. I, 30, male, was engaged to Dora, 29, female, for about 8 months. Thought we had a solid thing going. You know, the whole adult relationship where you split bills, plan vacations together, and argue about whether we need the expensive paper towels at Costco. I was literally sitting at my kitchen table Thursday night, laptop open, paying the final $3,200 deposit to our wedding caterer. Yeah, that's real money we're talking about here. I'm doing the responsible adult thing, checking items off our wedding spreadsheet because, of course, we had a color-coded spreadsheet. Feeling pretty good about life. My phone buzzes. Dora is live on Instagram now. Dora and her crew went to some fancy Airbnb in the mountains for her bachelorette weekend. I'm thinking it's going to be the usual stuff. Mimosas, silly games where they make her wear a sash that says Future Mrs. O'Brien. Maybe some embarrassing photos I'll get to roast her about later. Standard bachelorette content. I click on the live stream and there's my fiancé front and center wearing that exact sash I just mentioned. The camera's being held by her mate of honor, Lexi, who's clearly had a few. There's like 200 plus people watching this thing. Dora's face is flushed. She's holding some fancy bottle and they're all laughing way too hard at everything. Then Lexi, being the absolute genius she is, decides to get deep. Okay, real talk. She slurs into the camera. You're getting locked down next month. How does it feel? Here's where my life took a hard left turn. Dora takes this dramatic swig from her bottle and goes, Damien's great. You know, he's so stable. And guys, the way she said stable, like it was a medical condition, like being reliable was some kind of personality disorder. Her friends are giggling. And Dora is on a roll now. He pays the bills on time. His car is always clean. He remembers to take the trash out every Tuesday. Each thing she listed sounded like she was reading my obituary. Some voice from off-camera yells, but is he fun, though? And this is where Dora really brought out the big guns. She leans into the camera with this look. You know that look people get when they're about to say something they think is hilarious but is actually kind of mean? Yeah, that one. He's a great provider, she says, doing air quotes around. Great. My parents absolutely love him. Then she pauses, takes another swig, and the cruelty just starts pouring out. But God, he's so boring. Like, you guys have no idea. Her friends are already giggling, sensing blood in the water. He tries so hard to impress me all the time. It's actually kind of sad. Like, he'll plan these elaborate date nights and get all excited about it, and I'm just sitting there like, she makes this exaggerated young gesture that gets huge laughs. Lexi, being the supportive friend she is, decides to pile on. Wait, didn't you say he still tucks his shirts into his jeans in 2024? Oh my God, yes. Dora squeals. And he does this thing where he checks himself in every mirror we pass. Like, dude, the receding hairline isn't going anywhere. Just accept it. The room is dying laughing now. And don't get me started about how boring he is in bed. She says, lowering her voice like she's sharing state secrets. He's so eager to please, but absolutely no idea what he's doing. I have to fake it every single time just to get it over with. The comments are going insane now. Laughing emojis, brutal messages, people tagging their friends to watch this train wreck. Lexi's practically falling over laughing. Lexi actually had to wipe tears. So honestly guys, Dora says, looking directly into the camera with this smug expression. Should I even marry him? The room absolutely erupted. Her friends are losing their minds. The chat is going crazy with fire emojis and "don't do it girl" comments. Lexi's laughing so hard the camera is shaking like we're in an earthquake. But wait, it gets worse. Someone in the background yells, "What about Marcus?" And Dora's eyes light up like she just remembered her favorite story. "Oh my God, Marcus." She practically squeals. Marcus is this guy from her marketing department. I'd met him at a couple of company parties. So last month at the company retreat, she starts and I'm sitting there thinking she's not about to say what I think she's about to say. But she absolutely did. With 200 plus people watching and the comments going crazy, Dora proceeds to give a play-by-play of hooking up with this guy in a hotel room during her company retreat. She's laughing, her friends are shrieking, and she's giving details that would make a sailor blush. The thing is, I already started screen recording. Call it instinct, but something told me I was going to need proof of this conversation later. And me, I'm sitting there, deposit confirmation email still open on my laptop, watching the girl who was supposed to be my wife soon perform our relationship like it's some kind of stand-up routine for internet strangers while also confessing to cheating on me. She wasn't asking the question to be funny. She was asking because she genuinely didn't know the answer. And she was asking 200 plus random people on Instagram instead of, the guy she was supposed to marry in 4 weeks. Oh, and she'd been cheating on me with her coworker. That's when something just clicked off in my brain, like a circuit breaker flipping. The background noise of my apartment, the hum of the fridge, traffic outside, all just went dead silent. I was logged into my main Instagram account, the one with my actual face as the profile picture. I typed exactly 2 words into the live chat. "Don't bother." Then I closed the app, but not before I saved that screen recording to my phone. Then I closed my laptop and just sat there for a minute. My heart wasn't racing or anything. It was more like this weird calm certainty, like when you finally solve a puzzle that's been driving you crazy. Then the practical side of my brain kicked in and I realized I had about 12 hours before this whole thing was going to blow up in my face. Time to handle business. First stop, the wedding venue. I opened my texts and found our coordinator, Deborah. Professional woman, probably deals with crazy people all the time. I typed out the most polite cancellation message I could manage. "Deborah, this is Damian O'Brien. Please consider this message my formal notification that I am canceling our wedding scheduled for October 12th. I understand the deposit is non-refundable. Please confirm receipt of this message. Thank you." Hit send. Next up, our wedding planning spreadsheet. This thing was our Bible. Every vendor, every deposit, every guest dietary restrictions. Dora had shared editing access with me months ago. I made a copy to my personal Google Drive, then went back to the original and did something beautiful. I found Dora's name in the sharing settings and clicked remove access. Just like that, she was locked out of 4 months of planning. Petty, maybe necessary? Absolutely. The caterer was next. I had literally just sent them $3,200 20 minutes earlier. I fired off another professional email. "Hello. Further to my payment this evening, the event has now been canceled. As per our contract, I understand this payment and the initial deposit are non-refundable. No further action needed. Regards, Damian O'Brien." 1 hour later, my phone started ringing. Lex's face popping up on the screen. The same face I just watched encouraging my fiancé to publicly roast me and confess to cheating. I let it go to voicemail and immediately got hit with a barrage of texts. "Damian, call me now. What did you do? Dora just got an email from the venue. WTF is going on?" I put my phone on silent and went to grab a drink. The thing is, I wasn't trying to hurt Dora. I was just answering her question. She asked if she should marry me, and I gave her my honest opinion. Everything else was just paperwork. Well, almost everything else. The next 24 hours were like living through a social media hurricane. My phone became ground zero for the most unhinged collection of missed calls and text messages I've ever seen. Dora tried calling me 53 times. The voicemails went through the entire emotional spectrum. Confusion, anger, bargaining, more anger. Then this weird entitled rage like I had somehow wronged her by responding to her question. Lexi was blowing up my phone, too. Alternating between, "You need to fix this right now," and "How could you be so heartless?" which was rich coming from someone who was literally holding the camera while my relationship got murdered for content. But the real masterpiece was the group text situation. Apparently, Lexi had created some kind of emergency response chat with all our mutual friends called Supporting Dora. I wasn't in it, obviously, but my buddy Jake screenshotted me some highlights. Lexi. Damien had a complete meltdown and canceled the wedding over a harmless joke. Dora is devastated. He's being totally unreasonable and won't even talk to her. The responses were predictably dramatic. Oh my God. What happened? Sending love to Dora. Men are so fragile. I didn't respond to any of it. Instead, I did some housekeeping that was long overdue. See, Dora and Lexi had this little side hustle making wedding invitations and social media graphics for people. Cute business, except they'd been using my premium Canva account and my Adobe Creative Cloud subscription for the past year. We're talking like $80 a month in software they were using to make money. I logged into both accounts, changed the passwords, and revoked all shared access. If they wanted to keep their business running, they could pay for their own tools. Then I remembered our shared Amazon account. My credit card was the primary payment method, and Dora had been ordering everything from face masks to protein powder on my dime for months. I logged out of all devices and changed that password, too. Friday afternoon, I heard Dora's key in the lock. I was sitting on the couch reading a book. This biography of some Navy SEAL that my dad recommended. Perfect timing, honestly. She came through the door, dragging her suitcase, still wearing the same clothes from the live stream, looking like she hadn't slept. You have 5 minutes to explain yourself, she said, and she was trying to sound like some kind of prosecutor, voice trembling with this completely unearned righteous anger. Wait, explain what, Dora? I looked up from my book. You asked a question. I gave you an answer. Then I acted on that answer. It was a joke. I was having fun with my friends. It was my bachelorette party. The volume kept escalating with each excuse. Like, if she just got loud enough, reality would bend to her will. Was it a joke when you called me boring and mocked my appearance to hundreds of strangers? Or when you lied about me being desperate for validation while your friends laughed along? What about the detailed complaints about our intimate life? Was that all just harmless fun? 2. What about Marcus? Was that a joke? 2. Her face went white. She'd completely forgotten about the full extent of her performance. You were performing, Dora. You turned our entire relationship into entertainment for strangers. You humiliated me in ways I didn't even know were possible. And you forgot your most important audience member was watching. No, it's you who humiliated me, she shrieked. You commented for everyone to see. Then you called the venue. My phone exploded. Do you know how embarrassing that is? What am I supposed to say to people now? Oh, that must be very embarrassing, I said. But you were the one broadcasting to hundreds of strangers. The humiliation started when you held up our relationship for public ridicule and confessed to cheating on me. I just ended the show. That seemed to break something in her brain. She just stood there opening and closing her mouth like a fish, trying to find some new angle to make this my fault. That's when her phone started ringing. Lex's name flashing on the screen. Dora answered immediately, putting it on speaker like she wanted backup. Dora. Babe, where are you? Are you okay? Lex's voice was dripping with fake concern. I'm at the apartment with Damien. He's being completely unreasonable and I'm almost there. Lexi interrupted. I started recording on my phone. Something told me this was about to get messy and I wanted evidence of whatever was coming next. 5 minutes later, there was aggressive pounding on my door. I opened it to find Lexi looking like she'd rushed over in her pajamas, face flushed with righteous anger. How dare you? She launched into me before I could even say hello. You completely humiliated Dora. Everyone's talking about it. You're a pathetic excuse for a man. Lexi, you need to leave my apartment now. But she pushed past me into the living room where Dora was sitting on the couch, tears streaming down her face in this performance of victimhood. Look what you did to her. Lexi continued her assault. She made one little joke and you destroyed her entire life. You canceled everything without even talking to her. What kind of psycho does that? The kind who doesn't appreciate being publicly mocked and cheated on, I said calmly, making sure my phone was still recording. You were literally holding the camera while she tore me apart for entertainment. Oh, get over yourself, Lexi scoffed. You're acting like such a victim. Dora deserves so much better than some boring, insecure loser who can't take a joke. I'm asking you once more to leave my apartment before I call the police. She laughed, this ugly mocking sound. Call them. Tell them your feelings got hurt. Dora doesn't need a pathetic loser like you anyway. You did her a favor. Dora had been quiet during this whole exchange, but now she stood up with this dramatic sigh. You're right, Lexi. I don't need this. She looked at me with pure disdain. Then she disappeared into the bedroom while Lexi continued glaring at me. You know what the sad part is? Lexi said, her voice dripping with condescension. Dora was actually going to marry you out of pity. I see, I simply said, still recording. Dora came back out with an overnight bag, her face set in this mask of wounded dignity. Come on, Lexi. Let's go somewhere I'm actually wanted. They headed for the door, Lexi shooting me one last venomous look. Don't get too happy. You haven't won, she said. Dora has rights too. You know, you deserve to be destroyed, and we will make sure of that. Lexi, next time you want to threaten someone, maybe don't do it on camera. I held up my phone, still recording. Her face went white as she realized what I'd captured. They left without another word, slamming the door behind them. Dora ended up staying at Lexus that night, which was honestly a relief. I needed space to think, and the apartment felt peaceful for the first time in months. But the next morning brought a whole new level of crazy. My phone rang at 8 a.m. Dora's dad, Isaac. Now Isaac's a good guy, retired electrician, built his own deck, the kind of dad who actually knows how to fix things. I'd always gotten along with him pretty well. Damien, his voice was heavy. What the hell is going on? Dora told me you had some kind of breakdown over her being silly at her party and canceled everything without warning. I could hear it in his voice. He was operating on Dora's version of events, which I'm sure painted her as the innocent victim of my overreaction. Isaac, that's not what happened at all. Do you have a few minutes? Because there's a lot more to this story. I explained everything. Isaac went quiet for a long time. You could practically hear him thinking. Son, he said slowly, that doesn't sound like the story Dora told me at all. She said she made a few jokes and you went nuclear on her. I figured she might spin it differently. That's why I recorded the whole thing. Would you like me to send it to you? Another long pause. Send it over. I sent him the recording. It's about 15 minutes long. The worst parts start around the 5-minute mark. He got silent for a minute. I'll call you back. He hung up and I went about my morning routine. About an hour later, my phone rang again. Isaac's voice was completely different now. Tired, but also angry in a way I'd never heard from him. Jesus Christ, Damien. I'm so sorry. I had no idea she could be that cruel. The shame in his voice was unmistakable. She told me you couldn't take a joke about being stable and boring. She didn't mention the bedroom stuff or mocking your appearance or that Marcus situation. And Lexi egging her on like that. He trailed off, clearly disgusted. I'm not telling you this to turn you against your daughter, Isaac. I just wanted you to know the full story. No, son. I appreciate you showing me the truth. What Dora did, that wasn't just being dramatic or silly. That was deliberately cruel. His voice cracked a little. I raised her better than that. Or at least I thought I did. I'm sorry you had to see it. Don't you apologize for her behavior. I'm the one who owes you an apology. And I'm going to have some very serious words with my daughter about what I just watched. The conversation was different after that. Not just a tired dad dealing with his daughter's drama, but a man genuinely ashamed of what his child had done to someone he cared about. What happens now? We untangle our lives. I said, that's all. But untangling was easier said than done. The first major issue hit me 2 days later when I went to fire up some Call of Duty to blow off steam and realized something was missing from my entertainment center. My PS4 controllers. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's just game controllers, right? Wrong. These weren't just any controllers. I had 2 limited edition ones that cost me $200 each, plus my regular ones. Dora knew I was particular about my gaming setup, and she'd taken them when she packed her stuff Friday night. I sat down and wrote another email, this time copying Dora's dad. Dora, I'm fine with you taking your belongings. However, I need my PS4 controllers returned immediately. All 4 of them, including the 2 limited edition ones from my entertainment center. These were not yours to take. This needs to be returned tomorrow. And about the apartment, now the rent situation was ridiculous, too. We were both on the lease. Both legally responsible, but Dora apparently thought she could just peace out without consequences. So I continued the email as follows. Dora, this is a reminder that your half of the rent, $1,100, is now 7 days overdue. As per our signed lease agreement, we are both legally responsible for the full amount. Failure to pay will negatively impact both our credit scores and may result in eviction proceedings. Please remit payment immediately or sign a lease release form with the landlord. Regards, Damien. The phone call came within 10 minutes. I can't believe you emailed my dad. Dora was furious. Hi, Dora, I said, putting the call on speaker so I could keep making my morning coffee. Are you calling to tell me you've paid the rent? I'm not paying rent for a place I'm not living in. You kicked me out. I didn't kick you out, Dora. You left after you torched our engagement. Our legal obligation to the landlord didn't leave with you. I'm protecting my credit score. You should be concerned about yours. This is so cruel. You're trying to ruin me. No, I'm trying to pay my bills. Something you once described as stable and boring. Turns out it's pretty important. I hung up and went back to my coffee. Amazing how peaceful mornings could be without someone treating basic adulting like it was some kind of character flaw. But I wasn't done with my housekeeping yet. That screen recording from the live stream was still sitting on my phone, and I'd been thinking about what to do with it. Dora worked at a mid-sized marketing firm, the kind of place that takes their professional image pretty seriously. They also had a pretty strict policy about employee conduct, especially anything that could reflect poorly on the company. I uploaded the recording to Google Drive and sat on it for a few days, thinking part of me wanted to just delete it and move on. But then I remembered Dora's smug face as she told that story, how she was treating our relationship and her infidelity like entertainment for hundreds of strangers. So I composed a professional email to her company's HR department. To whom it may concern, I am writing to bring to your attention a matter involving 2 of your employees, Dora Miller and Marcus Davis. I have video evidence of Ms. Miller publicly discussing inappropriate conduct between herself and Mr. Davis during a company retreat, which may violate your professional conduct policies. The attached recording speaks for itself. Please let me know if you require any additional information. Regards, Damien O'Brien. I attached the Google Drive link and hit send. Sometimes consequences come looking for you. The next phase of this circus involved Dora's mother, Isabel, showing up at my door unannounced. Isabel is what you'd call a classic Karen. Blonde highlights, always wants to speak to the manager, thinks the world revolves around her precious daughter. She was practically vibrating with righteous indignation when I opened the door. Damon Jonathan O'Brien, she started, using my full name like I was in trouble at school. How dare you destroy my daughter's life? She's been crying for days because of what you did to her. I just stood there leaning against my door frame, letting her build up steam. She was just having fun with her friends, and you couldn't handle a little teasing. You're supposed to be a man. Real men don't throw tantrums over harmless jokes. She was getting louder and more animated, hands waving around like she was conducting an orchestra of outrage. And now she's homeless, living on someone's couch, all because you couldn't take a little criticism. You've ruined her reputation, cost her father thousands of dollars, and for what? Your fragile ego. I pulled out my phone and started dialing while she continued her rant. Dora was the best thing that ever happened to you, and you threw it all away because of, "Hey, Isaac," I said into the phone, cutting her off mid-sentence. "Yeah, I'm good. Quick question, though. Why is Isabel at my apartment harassing me right now?" Isabel's eyes went wide. The mention of her husband's name caught her completely off guard. Her mouth actually fell open. "Could you hold on 1 second? I asked Isaac, then looked at Isabel. "He wants to talk to you." I held out the phone. She took it with this confused look like she couldn't figure out how her husband had gotten involved. "Hello, Isaac. I'm just trying to." That's when I heard it. Even from a foot away, I could hear Isaac's voice through the phone, and he was not happy. His voice was raised enough that I could make out most of what he was saying. "Get your ass home right now. I told you to stay out of this. You have no idea what actually happened. Isabel's face went through several emotions. Confusion, embarrassment, then stubborn defiance. But Isaac, she's our daughter, and he more yelling from the phone. I caught fragments. Saw the video and embarrassed enough and not another word. Isabel kept trying to interrupt, maintaining that entitled energy even while getting dressed down by her own husband. I don't care what video you saw. I know my daughter, and the line went dead. Isaac had hung up on her. Isabel stared at the phone for a second, then handed it back to me with this forced smile that fooled absolutely nobody. Well, she said, trying to salvage some dignity. I still think you overreacted. She turned and walked away, but I could hear her muttering under her breath about real men and how no one understands what Dora's going through. I closed the door and went back to my coffee. Amazing how quickly people change their tune when they realize they don't have backup. Meanwhile, the supporting Dora group chat was apparently becoming a salt mine of complaints about me. A couple of friends who weren't completely brainwashed sent me screenshots. The narrative they'd settled on was that I was being cold and punitive. Cold and punitive for living my life and paying my bills while Dora was the one who nuked our wedding on livestream. But the real entertainment came when Lexi decided to escalate things. She created a new group chat, this time including some of Dora's extended family and a few people from her work. Her opening message was a masterclass in manipulation. Hey everyone, as you may have heard, Damien had a massive unprovoked outburst and called off the wedding. Dora is obviously devastated. He completely overreacted to a silly joke she made at her bachelorette party and is now refusing to speak to her. We're all just trying to rally around her during this awful time. The responses were predictably dramatic. OMG, what happened? Sending love to Dora. What a psycho. I didn't dignify it with a response. Instead, I did a little more housekeeping. Remember that business Dora and Lexi were running? The one using my software subscriptions? Well, apparently they had a few client projects in progress that were due this week, projects they could no longer complete because they didn't have access to the design software anymore. My phone started buzzing with increasingly frantic messages from Lexi. You need to give us access back to Canva. We have deadlines. This is affecting our clients. You're being vindictive. I blocked her number. Not my circus. Not my monkeys. The controller situation was still unresolved. And honestly, that was bothering me more than anything else. Those weren't just any controllers. They were limited edition, expensive as hell, and she'd deliberately taken them just to mess with me. It was petty theft, plain and simple. Isaac called me later that week. His voice was tired in a way that told me he'd been dealing with his daughter's drama nonstop. About the controllers, son, he said. I'll make sure you get them back. I appreciate that, Isaac. She had no right to take them. Let's meet all three of us. Sort this out like adults. I thought about it. Part of me wanted to just walk away. Let her keep the controllers just to avoid whatever drama was coming. But nope, I'll get my controllers back. The principal matter. Okay, I said, but I'm not negotiating anything except getting my stuff back and settling the financial stuff. Everything else is done. Understood. I'll set it up. The meeting happened at a diner downtown. Neutral ground, Isaac's suggestion. It felt like a hostage negotiation, which I guess it kind of was. Dora showed up looking like she'd been living in sweatpants for a week, which she probably had. Her eyes were red and puffy, and she had this wounded expression that I'm sure worked great on her dad, but did absolutely nothing for me. Isaac looked like he'd aged 5 years and 2 weeks. Being the parent of a 29-year-old who still acted like a teenager in crisis mode was clearly taking its toll. He didn't waste time with small talk. First, he pulled a bag with my controllers in it, sliding it across the table to me. These are yours. Dora flinched but didn't look up from her coffee. I don't know why this is such a big deal. They're just Dora. Isaac's voice was sharp. Not another word. I checked the bag. All 4 controllers were there, including my limited edition ones. The relief was immediate. I slipped the bag under the table without a word. Now the rent? Isaac continued, pulling out a piece of paper, like he was reading from a prepared statement. I've sent you the $1,100 for last month's rent. Damien, I've also spoken to your landlord and paid the fee to have Dora's name removed from the lease. Well, that's just great, Dora muttered. Now I'm homeless because he couldn't take a Dora. I said enough. Isaac turned to look at his daughter with this expression of pure parental exhaustion. This is the last time. The absolute last time I bail you out of a mess you made. Dora mumbled something that sounded like it was his fault, too. But Isaac wasn't having it. Then came the final item on the agenda. Wedding costs. This was the part one knew she was waiting for. Her chance to claim some kind of financial victimhood. We need to sort out the rest of the wedding expenses, Isaac said. It's pretty simple, I replied, pulling out my own list. You and Dora paid for her dress and the invitations. I paid the non-refundable deposits for the band, the caterer, the photographer, and the full cost of our honeymoon to Italy. I also bought the engagement ring. Dora finally spoke up, her voice dripping with venom. So, you're gonna pay me back for the dress, right? I can't return it. I almost laughed. Absolutely not. You can sell it or burn it. I don't care. As for my losses, I'll be selling the engagement ring to recoup some of the honeymoon cost. Her head snapped up, eyes flashing. You're going to sell the ring after everything it was supposed to. Dora, stop. Isaac cut her off before she could build momentum. I leaned forward, keeping my voice calm. It was supposed to mean we were building a life together. You didn't just question marrying me. You systematically tore apart every aspect of our relationship for laughs. Dora opened her mouth to respond, but Isaac held up a hand. That's enough from both of you, Damien. That's more than fair. The finality in my voice seemed to hit her harder than anything else I'd said. There was nothing left to argue about. Isaac nodded slowly. That's fair, son. We finished our coffee in silence and left. I never spoke to Dora again. It's been 4 months now, and the dust has finally settled. The apartment feels like mine now. Clean, quiet, and stable. Yeah, stable. I'm embracing that word Dora treated like a curse. I've managed to piece together the aftermath through the occasional text from mutual friends and the general social media grapevine. And honestly, it's been better than any Netflix series. Dora's situation went from bad to worse pretty quickly. First, Isaac cut her off financially completely. No more daddy's credit card, no more bailouts, no more safety net. Word is he told her she was an adult who made adult decisions so she could face adult consequences. Apparently, watching that live stream recording really opened his eyes to what his daughter had become. Then things got really interesting. Dora and Lexi had a massive blowout fight where Dora blamed Lexi for everything. For going live. Yes. Turns out it was all Lex's idea, for encouraging her, for making her say all those things. Lexi wasn't having it and told Dora she was tired of being her scapegoat and unpaid therapist. She kicked Dora out of her apartment, leaving Dora scrambling to find somewhere to live. So now Dora's couch surfing between different friends, wearing out her welcome one living room at a time. Lexi signed up to be the fun-time maid of honor, not a full-time therapist for a bitter, broke roommate who treats her place like a crash pad and blames her for her own mistakes. Speaking of jobs, remember that email I sent to Dora's company? Well, it turns out HR departments take video evidence of employees confessing to workplace misconduct pretty seriously. Dora and Marcus both got fired within a week of my email. Apparently, the company retreat incident was already on their radar after some complaints, and my recording was just the evidence they needed to pull the trigger. Dora had to scramble to find a new job and ended up in customer service at an insurance company. From what I hear, she absolutely hates it. Marcus apparently bailed on her, blamed her for losing his job, and moved back to his parents' place in Ohio. Beautiful. She tells people I ruined her life, which is hilarious in a cosmic justice kind of way. I didn't ruin her life. I just stopped subsidizing it and let her face the consequences of her own choices. Turns out when you remove the financial safety net of a stable partner, lose your job for workplace misconduct, get cut off by your parents, and burn bridges with your friends, reality hits pretty hard. Lexi's reputation took a hit, too. The live stream got screen recorded by multiple people and made the rounds through our social circle. She's no longer seen as the hilarious life of the party type, but more like the mean girl instigator who actively encouraged her best friend to torpedo her own future. I blocked the whole crew, Dora, Lexi, and Isabel on everything. Social media, phone, email, the whole digital exorcism. Isaac still checks on me sometimes, though. He doesn't bring up anything about his daughter, but we still both respect each other, and he still treats me like a son. 3 weeks ago, we grabbed some drinks and talked about work. Last week, I booked a flight to Italy. Remember that honeymoon we were supposed to take? I'm going solo. As for the ring, I sold it and got a decent price. Lost money overall, sure, but I gained something worth way more. Peace of mind. Oh, and I threw some of the cash at a new lit gaming monitor. The Asus VG249Q1A, aka the 24-inch weapon of choice. 165 Hz refresh rate, 1 millisecond response time, IPS panel with colors that hit like a punch to the face and zero lag. Clean, sharp, built for domination. Best breakup WIve.